Okay, so here we are live once again. We've got another action figure to talk about. Not an unboxing, because as you can see, this action figure is loose. I got him off of eBay, secondhand. He is loose and complete, but not in his package. Well, he's not 100% complete because he also doesn't include the comic book that this guy originally came with, unfortunately. But all the action figure pieces are here. So this is King Hiss. We're going to go ahead and talk about him for a little bit. And, like usually when I get an action figure loose, Cobra Khan was the last one this happened with, I'll usually just talk about him on a video, like whatever video I'm doing the day that it arrived. Oh, hey, here's this Cobra Khan figure I got. He looks pretty cool. Maybe the head's a little goofy because it looks like the old head, but I'm gonna make him a new head, which I eventually did. Uh, but uh, but yeah, I was trying to find King Hiss for a good price online, and it's nigh impossible. I was having the hardest time trying to find him, and the hardest time trying to find Thunder Punch He-Man. So I'm gonna feel like an idiot if they re-release those later because I paid a little more than I would have liked to for this guy. Still not the most expensive price I could have paid for it. By the way, why don't I just go ahead and show you this? Uh, since I mentioned Thunder Punch He-Man, I just went ahead and made my own custom, and I think it looks awesome. I used the backpack from Web Store and 3D printed out the crest to glue on the front. 3D printed a sword. You know, yeah, I am a cheapskate. What are you gonna do about it? I couldn't afford to buy as much stuff as I buy if I didn't buy it for cheap. I'm just saying, like it's part of the thrill of the hunt for me. That too. But yeah, I just went ahead and made my own Thunder Punch He-Man. He looks pretty cool. Mostly just the regular standard He-Man figure. 3D printed him, the shield, the crest, and a golden powered sword. And mostly this is Web Store's backpack. I just repainted it red, and then I gave him like a this is a fist that actually came with Ric Flair. It's not 100% the right color, but it's close enough. So I'm going to set that aside now. Just so you see that I did have that. King Hiss was one though that I was not going to be able to customize with the same amount of success that I was able to do Thunder Punch He-Man with though. So I did go ahead and pick him up. So let's go ahead and have a look at his accessories. He's got this snake staff. Lone Dragon says, "I don't do this the exact same thing. I am not a hypocrite. You are." Hey, I never accused you of hypocrisy. there's a great Norm Macdonald bit where he's talking about Bill Cosby and how somebody said that the worst thing about Bill Cosby was the hypocrisy. I think it was Patton Oswalt said the worst thing about Bill Cosby was the hypocrisy, and he says, "No, I don't think that's the worst thing about Bill Cosby. I think the worst thing about Bill Cosby was." I'll let you guys look up that clip. It's pretty funny. It's I won't get into too much detail about it on this channel, but yeah. So here's the King Hiss figure. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. King Hiss can't look up very far because he's got this helmet that sticks down in the back. He can look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, but again, the helmet kind of gets in the way of that. Rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders. They move up about that far. He's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow, extends about that far, bends in about that far, rotates all the way around, rotates all the way around at the wrist, and it's got a horizontal hinge so it moves back and forth this way. And he's got the kind of standard Masters of the Universe hands where he's got one gripping hand and one open hand. King Hiss rotates all the way around at the waist. He can kick up about that far, bend at the knee. The knee joint rotates all the way around. And then the boot cut rotates all the way around. Foot points down about that far. Foot points up about that far. And of course, that rotates all the way around. These are mostly new parts on King Hiss. I think other than the hands and maybe the feet. These might be the same feet as what we see on cartoon collection figures. Nope, they're not. They've got soles on the boots, whereas these don't have soles on the boots. wondering if we have seen these on something else somewhere before. I don't believe they're the same feet that are on Keldor, because Keldor, that dude got some big feet. Let me tell you, if I can find where he's at. You know what they say about guys with big feet, big shoes. So I thought I had Keldor around somewhere. I got like stacks of stuff over here. I got all these mini comics. I don't know why I put the mini comics over here because I had them stacked elsewhere. Maybe he's under the mini comics. Well, there's the Riddler. Because I always have the Riddler over here. And I could have sworn I had Keldor around here somewhere, but it doesn't look like he's anywhere where I can get to him right now. Oh, that's right. I took him into the kitchen because I was working on some kind of custom, and I needed Keldor for, I guess, reference or something. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for the articulation on King Hiss. Lone Dragon says, you know, Hitler. With Hitler, the more I learn about that guy, the more I don't care for him. Yeah, yeah. Me personally, like, I think that going out on the moon is overrated. I prefer the lunar capsule myself. That's just me. Uh, okay, so that's pretty much it for the articulation, but it's not it for King Hiss, because if you might remember, if you're familiar with the original King Hiss figure, basically the head was attached to the breastplate, and the front and no, no. Lone Dragon asked, "Do you need Keldor for reference for cooking?" No, 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 no. I usually do all my customizing at the kitchen table, so I've actually got like a big pile of stuff on the kitchen table right now because I don't really nobody really eats there at the kitchen table, so it's just kind of become my crafting table. But yeah, so I had him in there. I forget what I was using him for. I needed him like to compare to something, like but I should probably bring him back in here because I don't need him in there anymore. And like I said, I got big piles of stuff on there anyway, so I need to get rid of that. So the original one had a breastplate that the head was actually attached to that, and it was just a shell, and you just kind of snapped the breastplate apart, and you snap the armor off of the arms, and what you had underneath was supposed to look like a big mass of snakes, and really it just kind of looked like if you put snakes into a suit to pretend to be a person. So he had like two snake arms and a snake head, and the body kind of looked like the bodies of the snakes kind of intertwined with themselves. It seems like the sort of thing that maybe the concept of it would have seemed really impressive. Like we've got he looks like a heroic warrior, and then we flip off the armor and he's a big mass of snakes underneath, and oh, that sounds really cool. But in execution, it wasn't quite as impressive because he's not really that intimidating when he's in his snake form. But they did something different with this version and kind of took advantage of the modular aspects of the figure. So you take the head off first of all, and then you can take off the breastplate. And you can see that unlike most breastplates, this one's got kind of like almost like a turtleneck that fits over the character's neck, so it hides the whole neck. We should see if it'll fit on like a regular Origins figure and how well that will do. So, and then you pull off his arms, and this is already a lot more complicated than what you did with the original figure. And then you've got some additional arms and an additional head that you snap onto the body. And you can see, again, the body is what I'm talking about. They tried to make it look like a mass of snakes, but they kind of cheated with this version where he's got like a couple of random pieces of armor just kind of stuck on the back. So I don't know how well that works. So let's go ahead and put the new arms on, the new snake arms. And I got to say that the new arms and head are a little disappointing, and I'm going to get into the reasons why. So, first of all, the head itself ain't that bad. It looks pretty cool, but it's just like a little short on the body, And I think what would have made this whole figure a lot better is if he had have had like a little bit of a neck extension, like what Ratlor and Terror had. If they'd have just done that in yellow, so then you could have like had it like the snake head like really sticking up on this snake neck. I think that would have looked a lot better. And you can see they try to give it like a kind of a thing where like it looks like the snake is kind of wrapped around the neck. You can see like the snake tail kind of wrapped around there. But I don't know if it really gives them the look that they were going for. I don't know if it really translates as well. So he is a lot larger in terms of like the bulk of the character than he's not quite as puny as the original one was, and he is a bit more impressive looking as far as that goes. But it also basically still just looks like three snakes kind of twisted together to look like a person. Where like really, I think what originally the idea was be just like a whole mass of snakes. Like think about like sometimes in more modern Dracula movies where like you see Dracula just explode into like a cloud of bats. I think like they did that in uh, Dracula Untold or whatever that one was called. The one that was about how he became a vampire. You remember that one? It didn't do too well at the box office, so maybe you didn't see it. But yeah, like or like explodes into like a cloud of rats or something like that. Like but you see Dracula do that kind of thing sometimes. So I think the idea was maybe King Hiss would just kind of explode into like this swarm of snakes, and that would be like a really cool thing. But I mean, like, it's not bad. It looks okay, but it could look a lot better. One thing that does really bother me though, and one thing they definitely should have done a better job with, is the snake heads on his hands, which are just kind of like have their mouths closed, and it's like, what's he just supposed to do? Like bop you in the nose with it? Like what's this, like? The thing that's scary about snakes is the teeth, because they're gonna bite you, and it might be venomous, and poison you, and you die. Like I knew a guy who got bit by a rattlesnake, and he survived, thankfully. They got him proper medical attention and he was able to live, but it messed up his hand. He had to get all kinds of operations done on it, and it was this whole big thing. And like, so yeah, that's the thing that's scary about snakes is the teeth, and they just give them these little cutesy closed mouth snakes, and they're just not that imposing. So I think that if they'd have had like more open mouths like this guy, then it would have looked a lot cooler. And I think that Mattel kind of realized that they kind of dropped the ball on King Hiss a little bit, because they actually have a new figure coming out in the Turtles of Grayskull line, which is King Hiss kind of merged with a foot soldier. I don't know if it's a foot soldier that they made into a Snake Man like King Hiss, or King Hiss just got brainwashed into being the Shredder's flunky, so he dressed him up like a foot soldier. I'm not sure what the idea is behind that mashup, but I guess we'll find out if I can ever get it. But yeah, that's what he looks like in his snake form. So it's not as impressive as it could be. It's a little disappointing to me. But the neat part is that since this is a Masters of the Universe Origins figure and you can swap around the parts, that means you don't necessarily have to leave all the snake parts on or all the human parts on. You can mix and match the parts. We can put the breastplate back on and snap the human head back on. And then he's just kind of turned his arms into snakes. You know, that's a thing you could do. Or if we take the breastplate back off again, and it's this thing where it's got these straps on the sides. I don't really like the straps as well as the old clips, but I guess it works better for the softer plastic that they use on these. And with him, I guess it is necessarily use the softer plastic. But you could even put the human head onto the snake body. Just do whatever you want to with it. Mix around whatever parts you want to. So that's kind of neat. But honestly, like I think the snake form is a little disappointing and could have been done better. The human form of King Hiss, on the other hand, I think is fairly accurate to the original figure and looks pretty decent. Now I know a lot of people have had complaints about the humanoid appearance of King Hiss, and that he looks kind of like a superhero or something. And the idea behind this figure initially, even though it didn't really get into the they didn't really get too much into the media at the time, was that King Hiss was supposed to look like a heroic warrior. He was supposed to look like one of the good guys. So you would meet this guy and think that he was a good guy, and he would gain your trust, and then all of a sudden he would explode into a cloud of snakes, which is actually his natural form. This is just a disguise. That was the concept of it. But the way it wound up getting executed in the mini comics, and I don't believe he ever appeared in the original animated series at all, or nor on She-Ra, even though some of the Snake Men did appear on She-Ra. Uh, everybody just knew this was King Hiss. This was just how he looked all the time, and everybody knew who he was. So the whole disguise aspect of the character was just kind of dropped, whether on purpose or accidentally. And he was just always King Hiss when he looked like this. So, like honestly though, he's got the Snake Men's emblem on his chest, so I can't really imagine that it would be the sort of thing where like people would be like, like, hey, you don't know anything about those Snake Men, do you? Nope. Well, I mean, you're kind of dressed like a snake, and you got a snake on your staff, just like they have, and the same Snake Men emblem on your chest is the other Snake Men, and same Snake Men emblem on your shield is the other Snake Men. So you don't know anything about them? Nope. Must just be a coincidence. So yeah. As far as like the leaders of the evil factions go, King Hiss is probably the least impressive, if we're being honest. I mean, obviously Skeletor is the coolest. You gotta love Skeletor, and Hordak's pretty cool. You gotta love Hordak. But King Hiss is he's just not as creepy as those guys. He's a snake man, but he just kind of looks like a guy dressed as a snake. And I kind of have to assume, because of the nature of the way that his powers are presented in the mini comics, he is just a guy dressed like a snake who has the power to turn into snakes, but he's not actually a snake man, or like a whole mass of snakes. And some people could interpret, and probably do interpret, the snake form of King Hiss as literally being just like one biological entity. But like I said, I always kind of imagine him being just a whole bunch of snakes kind of like massed together. And they never quite accomplished that in the original figure. I think they did do one that was called like King Hiss Unleashed. King Hiss Unleashed, because that was how they spelled it in classics. Uh, where he was a much more impressive, like it was a bunch of bendy snakes, and that one I thought was pretty cool, but I was never able to get a hold of him. I might have to look and see if I can find one now, because I remember that figure was one of the cheaper Masters Universe Classics figures for a while, but it might be more expensive now. Who knows? I haven't looked in so long. Anyway, that's it for King Hiss. I appreciate you stopping by and indulging me while I talk about this action figure for a little bit. Next episode, we're going to be back to doing actual unboxings. Let's see, today is the 22nd, so, and it's Saturday. So Sunday will be the 23rd, Monday will be the 24th, Tuesday will be the 25th, and Wednesday will be the 26th. And the 26th is my birthday. So we're going to have something special to open up on Wednesday, because it's my birthday. And yeah, sorry I missed the show yesterday, because I would have liked to have had more stuff to talk. I got so much stuff to open up, and I would have liked to have like one more day to do that. But there was just all this drama with my Mattel Creations package, and how like UPS said that they attempted delivery when they actually did not attempt delivery, because I was not. I was actually at the house, so I would have known if they knocked on the door or something. I would have noticed. Never knocked on my door. And usually if UPS attempts delivery, they're going to leave like a little sticky note on your door to let you know that they attempted delivery, and like you can sign it, and they can pick it up, and drop it off next time they come by. They did not leave a sticky note. So I don't think that delivery guy even came by my house. I think he just just was goofing off or something, and he took a picture of the package, but he took a picture of the package in such a way where you can't even really tell what the background is. And what little of it I could see, I couldn't tell if it was anything that was at my house or not. So I think that delivery driver was just goofing off. But that was not cool of him. And then most of today I was waiting around on that package to show up. And then finally I fell asleep and it was delivered like like a couple of minutes before I woke up. So anyway, that's it for King Hiss. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe, and all of the YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about King Hiss, both the figure and the character in general. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.